Hey guys, I'm JanetOnOccasion, and today we're playing another Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. This one was sent in by Sladex, and as you can see, he's got Grimgore! Yay! Always nice to see Grimgore. So this is an interesting one, because it's Greenskins versus Beastmen, so two incredibly low leadership factions. So the amount of stuff that could just break at the drop of a hat, it's going to be very difficult for both of them to keep order in their lines. It's going to be very interesting indeed. But this army I absolutely love. I'm actually going to toggle off foliage, I think, because it's quite hard to see everything, isn't it? So here you can see he's got Warlords Boys, Savage Orcs, Goblins, over here, Forest Goblin Spider Riders, he's got some Trolls, Biggins, 8-peak loonies, savage orcs, so loads of really high damaging units in the front line, but almost no armour at all. So things like bestigors would be a waste against this kind of line, but there's not a huge amount of armour piercing. That's what the trolls are for. So the trolls are going to be able to counter bestigors brilliantly, and anything that might be brought to counter the black orcs is just going to be wasted. You know, Minotaurs will charge in here. You know, obviously Minotaurs very tough, but with the big uns and the Minotaurs' lack of armor, they're going to get shredded to pieces. With the Trolls adding mass, that's going to help too. He's got a ton of arrows as well, a load of Goblin archers, including the rusty arrows, so if anything is armored, you know, he can whittle them down wherever he wants with the rusty arrows and follow up with the Goblin archers. But a lot of the big units are going to suffer against these kinds of guys. Also, Centaurs, very little armor. Goblin archers, very useful for that. And with backup from the Forest Goblin Spider Riders, these guys are actually really good at kind of staying alive for long enough. They can charge into Centaurs, and the Centaurs won't kill them very quickly. It gives enough time for archers to turn around and start shooting into them. So, a lot of very useful stuff here. Grimgore, of course, just going to wade into combat, and he's going to be there for a long time, generating War, which is very nice. He's also got a Night Goblin Shaman. Of course, the Night Goblin Shaman has Vindictive Glare, because they always do. But also, he's got a couple other spells. Let's have a look. So, yep, got him. Good. He's got Gorkle Fix It, so that's going to lower speed, charge bonus, and charge speed, which is really useful, especially against, you know, a faction that has such big charges. That is really nice, and just be able to slow down any unit that's going to be tough to catch is very handy. Vindictive Glare, obviously great for sniping out other spellcasters and lords, and also Sneaky Stabbing, just to add some extra melee attack to something. Very, very nice. I really like that. So, yeah, very robust army. So, the Beastmen. Now, this is tough. So, Centaurs, of course, are brilliant here. They are getting some good damage into Forest Goblin Spider Riders that did overextend here. They did overextend and get caught out. Goblins are going to try and help. And there are other nearby units that could lend some support. But right now, the focus is on these Centaurs with throwing axes. Centaurs with throwing axes try to get some damage into that front line. But, of course, most of it is a waste. You know, it's only really Grimgore that's armoured. And while he's embedded in a unit of Savage Orcs, they're going to be taking the brunt of it. Sure, they don't really have the missile resist or anything, but it's still a waste. These big armor-piercing missiles, you want them armoured targets, and there aren't any. So suddenly, they're not really going to be as useful as they otherwise might be. More Centaurs running around the other side. And the front line, you'll notice, no bestigors at all. It's all gore herds. So it's going to be sort of damage dealers versus damage dealers, basically. No armor piercing on either side, except for the big boys. So there's Minotaurs here, and there's Trolls on the other side. Of course, the Trolls are going to be able to regenerate, and the Minotaurs, huge armor piercing that isn't really going to go anywhere. And very little armour themselves. Without a ton of archers here to fight off the Trolls, suddenly the Greenskins are going to have the advantage there. Also, there's Morgan the Shadowgave, so he's going to be coming in, got a load of Chaos Spawn summons, which can be very handy against this kind of line. You know, very low armour, the Chaos Spawn will hurt a lot. Also, a Chariot, very nice to see a Chariot, and Brave Shaman of Shadows, that's going to really help tip things into, you know, you know, tip the balance in their favour. That's what I'm trying to say. But no Enfeebling Foe, which I find surprising. Instead, it's just sort of controlling things. So he's got Melkoth to slow stuff down, so it can be chased down easier, and Penundral Pendulum, probably to crack a load of Black Orcs that he was most likely expecting. So, we're going to speed things up. So over here, things are getting a bit messy. Goblins getting really caught out, and the Centaurs are able to escape, having taken very little damage. That was very good for the Beastmen here. Over on this side, though, things were a little bit better for the Greenskins, having done some damage to these throwing axes. That, you know, in melee, they're going to be pretty good, actually, against most of these units. They'll be able to get some good charges into a lot of these guys. Here, Vindictive Glare coming in. Looks like his Novacast one, because it got miscast, and that is a big chunk of damage dealt to that Bray Shaman. And with Trolls adding some mass, it's going to be difficult to get a lot of use out of a Chariot if the Trolls are on guard. Over on this side, Trolls are charging in. All the Minotaurs are using the cover of the trees, which is very wise, but there's a lot of arrow fire coming in, and that will help. And now a Warlords Boys getting absolutely crushed here against just all of this. On this side, though, things are going a bit better for the Greenskins. They're able to start wrapping around, but if this flank is crushed before these guys can find purchase on something, then the War is going to get a bit wasted, and that's not ideal. We can see Gore Herd are being just completely chewed up, and here these Centaurs are getting a little surrounded. But now this is interesting. Chaos Spawn summoned, and Chaos Spawn can do very well against the 8-peak loonies that have very low armor. Chaos Spawn are great at dealing damage to big groups of unarmored units, so they're going to get some real hurt in. But, you know, 8-peak loonies, they are going to poison them. Trolls are following up. Savage Orcs are coming in with their high weapon strength. But this was absolutely gorgeous. He managed to get some extra damage into the Rusty Arrows, and because he's in range of Morga, they actually got turned into Chaos Spawn. So he couldn't have asked for a better thing. The Rusty Arrows with their armor sundering, even if they're horribly, horribly crippled, they can still come back, and even if there's only 3 of them firing, they're going to sunder that armor and be useful. But they just got turned into Chaos Spawn, which is absolutely amazing. The chances of that happening, pretty damn slim, I think. To be able to get a backline unit with a trick like that is pretty wonderful. So that's great to see. Goblins, they've managed to get into the Centaurs with throwing axes, and the throwing axes are being wasted on them, which is a real pity. But over here, you can see Grimgore pushed forward too far. He overextended, he's fighting Morga, getting poisoned, and surrounded by Minotaurs. The Minotaurs, that's their one thing. That's the one big armoured unit, is Grimgore, so the Minotaurs are perfect for this. Here you can see Forest Goblin Spider Riders trying to stop this Bray Shaman from joining the fight too, and there are a few Orcs loitering that need to get into the fight. They should have got in there a bit quicker. And here, this big blob of Beastmen have completely decimated this, this flank. Sure, there's some Trolls that are pretty healthy. There's one unit of Savage Orcs that is still in the fight, but the back line has been completely compromised. Everything's overrun with Centaurs right now. Things are looking really bad. You know, Grimgore, he's running away. This is terrible. This is absolutely backbreaking for the Greenskins. It's terrible. This is awful. This has gone horribly. But some units are returning, the Trolls are coming back, they can be generating as they come. Some Goblins are going to be able to take some of the blows, so that way the Trolls don't get hit as much. But, you know, Gore Herd are good damage dealers, there's still plenty of Minotaurs here. And here it looks like we're going to see a couple of spells. So we had the Call of Violence putting up leadership over here, and then we saw a Gorkle Fix-It slowing these guys down. Grimgore is coming back in, and these Savage Orc Biggins have been doing a huge amount of damage to Morga here. You know, Morga doesn't have much armor, so purely damage-dealing units like the Savage Orc Biggins, they're going to be really effective here. So Morga's taken a lot of damage, and with Grimgore, with sneaky stabbing on him, really high weapon strength, he's going to be able to do a ton of hurt to Morga. But Minotaurs are charging in now, a lot of them. There's 3 units here, and they all still have pretty high models, but they are very injured. They are very injured. Over here, Centaurs being wrapped up, more Trolls coming in, and the Archers are coming back. The Archers are going to be pivotal here. More units returning over here, more units returning over here, and with a lot of the Centaurs having been broken over here, or just stuck fighting Goblins for no particular reason, this is kind of the last of the Beastmen forces. This is all the Beastmen right now. They're all just going all in to try and kill Grimgore. Another War has been procced, and Savage Orc Biggins coming in. 68 melee attack is ludicrous. And then the anti-large being able to affect any of the Minotaurs, suddenly they're going to tear things to pieces. 45 weapon strength is no joke. And now all the archer fire coming in, hitting these Minotaurs. They do not have shields, but they're facing the wrong way anyway. 35 armor is not enough armor. And now Trolls getting a beautiful rear charge in, and with the War, they're going to hit very hard. So now these guys are surrounded, Call of Violence is still going, and it's the only thing keeping some of these guys in the fight, but that's not going to last forever. Another charge in the side from the Savage Orcs. Call of Violence has worn off, and now those Minotaurs are broken, those Gore Herd are broken, those Minotaurs are broken, these Minotaurs have now broken. Everything has broken. Morga is somewhere. There he is. He's over here fighting Grimgore on his own. The Trolls are stopping the Bray Shaman from being able to push through and help. And that's the end of Morga, and that's everything shattering. Wow. Just wow, guys. That was unexpected. Pyrrhic victory. Definitely Pyrrhic. It looked like all was lost. That Greenskin army had been completely crippled. But that's kind of the thing with Greenskins. They'll come back. You know, they always do. And against a low leadership faction like the Beastmen, that, yeah, they stayed in the fight because they were winning. Right? That's the weird thing. They stayed in the fight because they were winning. Despite the fact they were taking a lot of damage from all the archers and other sources, they were still winning each fight. Until the very end, they were blobbed up, and they got attacked from every side. And once you're attacked from every side, that's enough to cripple the leadership, whether you're winning or not. That is too many leadership penalties that they would have suffered from all those charges, and it was able to just completely wipe it out. The whole army got completely wiped, just from one decisive charge from all of these piecemeal troops that returned. And that's sort of the beauty of the Greenskins, and that's usually the beauty of the Beastmen. But just getting overly greedy, trying to go for Grimgore, is sometimes a it's not a great idea, you know, having all your units clumped up like that. The Beastmen, they're better on the charge, so what you're often better to do in that kind of situation is if you are blobbed up and a load of units are returning, just peel something off. Just one unit of Minotaurs, have that run towards something that's running back in, and you can break it quickly, and it can't affect the leadership of the rest of your forces. You've got to keep throwing bodies back into whatever's returning so you can break them quickly, or just avoid them from getting those rear charges in, because leadership is paramount in this kind of engagement, in this kind of matchup. It's whoever can get those leadership penalties in with the rear charges or spells or whatever it is that you're going to use. You've got to make sure that you don't let your opponent get those flanks in. I mean, it applies to any faction. You know, if either of these two factions are fighting pretty much anything else, just don't let your guys get surrounded. You always need to get the surround on the opponent, or beautiful engagement from the Beastmen initially. Smash one side so hard that that whole flank buckles, and then you get to pick your targets after that. But you've always got to make sure that those other units aren't going to come back and cause you trouble. And unfortunately, he just didn't protect against that. Trading nudes for keys. Fantastic name. Not sure if this is someone I know using a silly alias or not. It's always impossible to tell. But hey, Sladex, beautifully played. And I'm proud of you, buddy. Yeah, getting Grimgore, the win. I love that. So guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.